When you're running any build in Elden Ring, you want to be able to take out enemies as quickly as you can, and you want to take out as many as possible. So with this Holy Faith build, you're going to be able to do just that. Not only is the build good for the smaller mobs, but the heavier enemies, the ones with the bigger health pools, it's still very decent for them too. You saw the damage from the first hit, now we're going to do the second one. And you'll see it's over 2,000 damage. So then all I've got to do is one hit on that dude, one hit on that dude, they are dead. The weapon we're running with this one is Marika's hammer. It has a 670 attack power, which is pretty good for a small little hammer. It only weighs 6, so it doesn't hold a big chance of making you a heavy load. It's got very decent base damage. It scales mainly off strength and faith. And you obtain this by taking down Elden Beast, the final boss of the game. So you do unfortunately have to wait until you are at the very end of the story. You don't need to go into New Game Plus with it. I took down Elden Beast a long time ago and I'm still playing in the standard game. I haven't gone into New Game Plus whatsoever. The only problem with this is you're going to have to do a mausoleum to duplicate your remembrance, because the other option from the Elden Beast is the Sacred Relic Sword, which everyone used for rune farming. So you've got your rune farms, you've got your much better, in my opinion, damage from your Holy Faith builds with the Marika's hammer. In my left hand, I am running the Golden Order Seal, purely because it scales off faith and it boosts your fundamentalist incantations. There are a bunch of really good incantations you can run with a Holy Faith build. The only thing it doesn't actually affect or scale is Golden Vow, but that is going to be a needed incantation pretty much for any build in the game. You can grab the Golden Order Seal from the Minor Erdtree Church up in the capital outskirts. If you just head into the church at the very bottom of the Minor Erdtree, like the back end of the church from where you enter, it's going to be sitting right there, no combat needed. Armor with this build is completely optional. There's nothing I would really run over the top of an armor set you like the look of, or one that has high damage negation that you can run whilst sticking to a medium load. In terms of the talismans, Shard of Alexander is one that I would definitely recommend. It greatly boosts the attack power of your skills, and when you are slamming into the ground and dealing your AoE damage to big groups of enemies, it's classed as a skill. It's the weapon skill, so this is going to help out with the attack power of that. And in order to get your hands on Shard of Alexander, you need to complete the entire quest for Iron Fist Alexander. A lot of people know him as Alexander the Jar or Alexander the Pot. Complete his quest, he will give you Shard of Alexander. However, again, that's going to be late game because you need to go to the Crumbling Farum Azula. Then for the talismans, you have Sacred Scorpion Charm. It is going to increase your attack power for holy damage, like your holy attack. It will lower your damage negation a little bit, but in order to get your hands on this one, you are going to need to make it to Smouldering Church, which is pretty much in between Limgrave and Caelid. When you approach the church, you'll be invaded by an NPC, take the NPC down, and you get the Sacred Scorpion Charm. Then we have the Ritual Sword Talisman. This one is going to raise your attack power when your health is full. And you get this one from Lux Ruins up in the Altus Plateau. It is right next to the Erdtree Gazing Hill Site of Grace. There is a little bit of an annoyance with this one. When your health is full, it creates this like beeping noise and you get this red aura around your character. So it can be a little bit irritating just because the beeping is annoying. But it's a really, really good talisman, especially for your first hit typically, because your health might start depleting pretty quick. Especially on this build if you like time your attacks wrong and things like that. If you wanted to switch that one out for something else and you wanted to have more of a focus on incantations as well as Marika's hammer, then a talisman I would recommend is Flock's Canvas. The reason I recommend this is because it's going to greatly increase the potency of your incantations. In order to get your hands on it, you do need to go to the Church of Plague, which is in Caelid, start Millicent's quest, and once you have completed the quest, you will need to come to Galry's shack multiple times, but once you've completed it, if you went against Millicent, Galry will already be dead, there'll be a loot drop on his body, you pick that up, it's his bell bearing and the talisman. If you have assisted Millicent in the quest, then when you come to Galry's shack again, he'll be alive, but he is useless at that point, so just kill him off, take the bell bearing, take Flock's canvas talisman, and you've got a great or a significant boost to the potency of your incantations. And the final talisman is one that you wouldn't really think of like putting on this build, especially if you are focusing on the skill of Marika's hammer, but you're not always going to be able to. The FP cost is quite high, so this one is the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, and I recommend this for a lot of builds in the game as well, especially like your bleed builds with katanas and things like that, anything you're going to be hitting enemies with a lot. And you obtain this by choosing to assist Millicent in her quest, and that's something I would strongly recommend doing. So basically you start the quest, you get to the end, if you choose to kill her, then when you return to Galry's shack, Galry's dead, you pick up the Flock's canvas talisman. If you choose to assist her, as well as being able to kill Galry and get the talisman anyway, the Flock's canvas, you'll also be awarded the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, and it's going to greatly raise the attack power with successive attacks. So when you're swinging this hammer around, because it's a small hammer, it's got some lighter attacks that are much faster, I would strongly recommend running this one. However, if you did want to just focus on, like, purely on the holy side of the build, you wanted to use the skill as much as you can on the weapon, you want to pop the incantations all the time for buffs and things like that, then instead of the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, I would go for something like the Carian Filigreed Crest. To obtain this one, you need to start the quest with Blide. Once you've done it, come over to Road to the Manor, talk to War Councillor E.G., and he will sell you the Carian Filigreed Crest Talisman for 5,000 runes. This one's going to be fantastic for a lot of builds in the game. I would say any that run spells and incantations, so not typically your melee builds, because this one is going to lower your FP consumption of anything you use by 25%. So looking here, Goldbreaker on the hammer is 31 FP. If I switch this out and I use the Carian Filigreed Crest, that 31 FP cost goes down to 24. So I save 7 FP each time I use the skill. You could also, if you wanted to, if you wasn't too bothered about the amount of extra damage you'll take, you could also run Marika's Sourcil, because that's going to boost your Mind, Intelligence, Faith and Arcane by +5 each. But you do have to make it to the prayer room, which is at the very top of the map. If you're unsure of how to get there, when you are in the consecrated snowfield, if you come to Ordina, there is an Evergoal or a jail, whatever you want to call it, and you have to go in there, light the flames, you'll unlock the staircase at the back of the town, then you will enter the Halig Tree and then make your way to the prayer room. When you are here, what you'll need to do is head northeast, and you will need to jump over this wall here without dropping too far down. You're supposed to land on that little roof bit, I kind of missed it. There's going to be an Erdtree avatar walking along. That guy's an absolute nutter. But drop down onto here, jump across to the bridge. If you haven't killed the Erdtree avatar, don't worry about it. You can just wait until he walks further along. But come to this section here, run and jump onto this ledge. There's going to be some creepy enemies here, but if you've got stone sword keys, pop them in the imp statue over there, open up the archway. In that room at the back is Marika's Sourcil. So we've covered weapons, armor, talismans, the Flask of Wondrous Physick. I run this with the Holy Shroud and Crack tier and the Dexterity Not Crystal tier. The Holy Shroud and Crack tier, along with 2 others, you will be awarded for taking down the Erdtree avatar boss at the Minor Erdtree in Liurnia Lake on the east side of it. And the Dexterity Not Crystal tier, at the bottom of the lake on the south side, when you make it to Scenic Isle, if you come northwest over to this rock here, that's where you'll find that tier. If you haven't got your hands on a Flask of Wondrous Physick, they are incredibly helpful. You can pick that up at the Third Church of Marika. And that is the entire build. I absolutely love this one, another Holy Faith build. I'm really enjoying these now that I've got into them. I think personally I would probably still favour Bleed, but it just mixes it up and it stops everything being the same. So instead of running meta stuff all the time, and the things that are like really the strongest, it just gives you a chance to use different stuff. And I mean, the AoE and the healing on Holy Faith builds is incredible. So one more attack, wipe all them out. Because my arcane's high, I'm getting a lot of loot. And the good thing is, because this is a hammer, if there's an enemy that's got their shield up, what you can do is you can break their guard and you can stop them shielding if you do a jumping heavy attack. That's going to do it for this video. Don't forget to sub and turn notifications on. Check out another video here, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it.